Hey Marcus, it's Pat.
Hello.
Hello, just wanted to make sure I got you online.
Perfect.
I'm sorry.
I believe that she has scanned some information and she'll be forwarding that, or maybe you already did that, Pat?
Already did.
So you should have received all the information you didn't already have.
Thanks.
See, Melissa,
Thanks, buddy, I appreciate it.
I just wanted to make sure. I got Marcus on the other phone.
So, Marcus, you can hear me. Melissa, you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Sweet. Dave, Sam,
Mr. Mayor?
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so one of the things that I mentioned to Pat earlier was because Marcus and Melissa are not here, we probably will do roll call voting tonight. So, the meeting is now open, Pledge of Allegiance is done, and off to the agenda. You guys had an opportunity to review that? Okay, welcome a motion to approve it.
I move to approve the agenda.
That was Marcus,
I'll second that.
and Linda seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Melissa, how do you vote?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Marcus?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Vickie?
Aye.
Darla?
Aye.
All voted aye. And now, the approval of the minutes of July 6th and July 20th council meetings. We have an opportunity to review those. Assuming, well,
I make a motion to approve the minutes of July 6th and July 20 council meetings.
I'll second it.
that was Dave and seconded by Darla. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Melissa, how do you vote?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Marcus?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Vickie?
Aye.
Darla?
Aye.
All yes. If you look in your documentation, you have a sheet that shows the revised council committees for 2020 and 21. And basically, everywhere that it said Ward 2 Alderman, Marcus Ireland's name was put in. Everywhere that it had said Dan Hayter, Vickie Larsen's name was put in. So, there's that. And now we will go on to number 6, public input. Do you have any public input? All right, hearing none. We go on to number 7, street updates. We don't have a Lonnie Johnson here, do we? Do we know of anything?
The only thing I know is that road guy contacted me for a spot to put the rock.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm assuming it won't be long. I would assume 3 weeks or so,
Where'd you tell them to put it?
across from Yachty.
Any discussion about when the lines will be painted? Are they painting them in the summer?
I have to ask Lonnie that, I do not know.
Okay, well, those were the only 2 points of discussion concerning street updates. Pool updates, I know the other day I contacted Lonnie and there was something that was on and we were overflowing. The pool was running over the sidewalk to the west and running down into the, and not many gallons, but enough. And so then he came and I guess somebody must have left something on. I don't know how that happened yet, but otherwise it sure looks clean and crystal clear. I guess, I don't know if either Wanda or Pat, whether you know of any concerns about lessons or any of that?
I don't think so, I think everything went good.
No news is good news, right?
I worked there the one afternoon, and I'd have to say it went very well.
Good.
Things were,
Water's cold.
It's cold, is it? Yeah. Well, of course, when it's 90x degrees outside, anything's cold. Okay, well then we'll go on to water and wastewater. We also don't have Dale here, but we did have a water line issue over here at the trailer court. And whoever moved that trailer out inadvertently broke a little kind of a nipple off the top of this water supply, and so it was running.
Did they report that? Did the people that move it report that?
The owner of the property did.
But it's all been fixed. It was fixed early this morning, I think 10:30, something like that. It was already done. So I don't know what other updates there could be, but there is also discussion here listed regarding the rate increase, wastewater rate increase.
I will hand this out. Melissa and Marcus, it's the back page in your packet, sorry.
Sewer rate analysis is what it says at the top.
You talking about the one that has like all of our names on it?
Correct.
Okay.
So at the last meeting and then at budget committee meeting, we had talked about possibly putting in a rate increase now to start collecting funds for the facility plant upgrade. And currently, our or the rate at 5,000 gallons is $47.25. And the funding kicks in anything above 50, hopefully. And so an increase to get us to 50 would be $2.75, or approximately a 6% increase. So what I did is I just gave the average gallons that people in this room are, the current rate, how this proposed increase would affect you, and both in projected increase and dollar increase. So, and that was a 6% increase. I didn't know if you wanted to analyze any other percentage.
So we need to be at 50, not more than 50.
Well,
50 or more.
if our rates get greater than the 50, once the facility plan is, or once the funding is out there, supposedly that's where that grant money kicks in, is to bring you back down to the 50.
But in order to be considered for grant monies, you gotta be at 50.
Correct.
Good.
So is this something that you would like effective, when? Because it's an ordinance, so it would take 2 readings in 20 days. So we can either do it effective January 1, or we can do it effective possibly November or December. Or do you want to look at a different dollar amount?
Is November then the earliest we can make it effective then?
Because we'll have a first reading and second reading, which the first reading would be the middle of August, second reading would be September, and then you could make it effective October 1st, if you wanted.
Are these pretty, I mean, where do most people fall in this, where we are? Are most of them in the middle there, do you think?
In the 2,000 to 3,000 range,
Okay.
yes. We have
So
very
none
few-
of them are going to be changing drastically then?
No.
I guess I would go for October 1 then.
I don't know if you heard that, Melissa and Marcus, but Linda just suggested that
Yeah, I couldn't hear Linda.
October 1st would be her suggestion for that rate to happen.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. Remind me again when that deadline is to start applying for, or to submit our application.
Well, they're going to make their presentation in September, and then in October, we'll get on the water plan to let the state know that we're gonna have a project, and then, yeah, January of 2021.
Right. I think it makes us look a little better that we're being proactive, that we're increasing the rates now, we're doing everything we can.
So Sam, I will give you our copy that we've done in the past and have you prepare that for the middle
Okay.
August meeting.
Any other discussion on that topic? Okay.
My household uses a lot of water, apparently. Can I blame my kids?
Yeah.
Sure. We'll go on to letter C, 9C, wastewater facility plant upgrade public hearing, Tuesday, September 8th, 2020, 6:15 PM, 500 Dakota Street.
So this, if you have people that will have questions about this future upgrade, this would be the meeting to encourage them to come.
Is that our council meeting date?
Yes, and Tanya will be here, and so will CCOG.
Did you guys hear that on the phones?
Not really.
Okay, well, the suggestion, first of all, is that if you know of people that are very interested in hearing what's to be said about this wastewater facility upgrade, this would be the time to encourage anybody to come. And then CCOG and Tanya is gonna be here for that part of the meeting.
Will there be something in the paper that says that to get the people to come, okay?
Yep, I will have a publication.
All right, well, we'll go on to number 10. Chief Christie, if you provide your update.
Yeah, I don't have a lot, but I feel like I better stand up here so these,
Yeah.
the phone people can hear me.
Good
If they
idea.
have any questions. You guys have the stats. We're still running right around 50-ish cases a month. That may not sound like a lot. I had a couple of conversations with a few council members in the last month here. And I just need you guys to understand as well that that one case number, one of those numbers can turn into weeks of work. If it's a rape investigation or any serious crime, there's search warrants involved, there's a whole folder for one number. I just wanted you guys to kind of understand that it may, sometimes we may look like a slower month, we may have less numbers, but one case report could have taken up the majority of the month for both of us. The truck windshield, I need to get that replaced. A chip has turned into a full-length crack. As we're driving it right now, we're not meeting state law, so we better set a good example and get it fixed. So, did some checking, it's gonna cost around $300 if they come to town to fix it, I think, so.
We don't have insurance for that?
Well,
Is that with the insurance?
that was without any insurance, I don't,
You can talk to Diana, I honestly
It
don't.
doesn't
Yeah.
have any comprehensive coverage. It should take care of some of it.
maybe, yeah.
Some.
I'll look into that before we do anything. Then the only other thing I had is, we had budgeted software for the laptop computers this year in the vehicles, and then budgeted, I think we budgeted like 1,000 for guns, which would actually replace our 2 guns that we have. Talking with Pat, obviously this is a crazy year, and we bought buildings and sold buildings, and probably gonna try and look a little, right after summer here, maybe early fall, take a look at where we're at in certain areas and try and work some of those things in that we actually budgeted for. But I learned my lesson, and I guess if we budget for stuff next year, January, I'm gonna hit you all up quick, so. But that was all I had, unless you guys have any questions for us. We did have Melissa K. rode with both of us, did a couple-hour ride-along with both of us. I encourage anybody if you guys are all interested in what we do or want to pick our brains for an hour, you want to jump in the car, you're more than welcome to. The only man that has to clear it is up here, the mayor, so. But anybody's welcome. We're an open book unless it's a real criminal investigation, and I can't talk about that. Other than that, any questions for me?
When do you plan on getting to move?
Yeah, we're looking at this week.
Oh, good.
Wiring, I think the construction portion was maybe gonna be done this evening. They were gonna hopefully be done tonight. Axel had a few wiring things to touch up. And, we could be starting as soon as Wednesday, maybe moving stuff over. And I talked to the mayor about that as well. We might try and ask around for a little help, but we'll see. I don't have an exact date yet, so it's kind of hard for me to say. But yeah, hopefully this week. And it looks sharp in there. You guys have stop by if you want to.
Quite an improvement, that's for sure.
Yeah. If you see Austin and I together at the PD this week, there's evidence from the last 30, 40 years. Some of it can be destroyed due to state law. So a lot of big dope cases that have a lot of evidence from search warrants and stuff. Some of that can be destroyed if it's not something valuable, or if it's involved with dope, a lot of like paraphernalia and stuff, we can destroy it. So we're going through as much as that now, so we can destroy it and not move it into a new building for another 60 years, so. So that's kind of the goal. If you see us both down there, we're getting through as much as we can. And trying to follow to the T state law on evidence destruction, so I don't want to mess that up.
I do have a question
Yeah.
about that dope-related stuff. Is there special compartments and stuff that you keep that in? As far as transfer, inadvertent transfer? Do you
So,
understand what I'm talking about? If it's powder or whatever, usually it's in a
oh,
plastic.
sure,
But any
sure.
possibility of contamination or anything like that?
So if it's
Just
any,
curious.
if it's anything that's powder or basically any drug at all, we'll keep it in their container that we seize it in, and then we also seal it in an evidence clear plastic bag, which is like I think a 9 mil bag,
Okay.
and that has a evidence seal on there that's pretty good. The concern is probably fentanyl is what you're getting at.
Well, anything that
Yeah.
touching it
Right,
would transfer
Right.
That kind of thing. Does the state have a drop-off place that,
Well, the problem is, if we seize it, we have to keep it for the entirety of the case, and all the way through. If somebody goes to prison on it, I have to keep it through there, and then even through their probation period, I have to keep
Okay.
it. So a lot of times it's 6, 7 years if it's a hard drug, so we have to keep it as evidence till then. Yeah, so outer stuff we do take serious though now due to.
yeah, I didn't know if there was some sort of a universal disposal plan where, kind of like the treasury when they burn old money
Oh,
and to get rid of, after so many years, to get rid of the
Yeah.
stuff.
there is recommendations on disposal as well.
Okay.
And we're going to follow those. Lonnie and Dale are gonna help us at the city dump site. It's a process, so. And then it has to be logged. There's a whole set of rules. but-
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, anything else? Anybody in phone land? Questions? All right, good talk.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah.
I just want to say thanks to you and Austin for letting me ride with you guys. It was a good time.
Yeah, I hope she had fun.
And I highly recommend it to any other council member who's curious about what our officers do.
I think it is very advisable. I think everybody really should do that. Any other discussion regarding that? Okay, if not, then we go on to the Pleasant Hill Cemetery and landfill update. We don't have Parker here either.
I did talk to Parker, because I didn't know if he'd be done or willing to stop by after work. We do have one of the cemetery mowers that needs some attention. It's not running properly. I asked him to talk with Lonnie about it, and if he and Lonnie can't get it figured out, then we'll probably take it over to Beersford, to Ace Hardware, and have them do an estimate of repair, see if it's worth repairing. So,
What brand mower?
I'm assuming it's a John Deere, but it's a red John Deere.
Gravely.
Oh, the one he's having problems with is
Well,
red.
the orange ones are Gravely.
He said it was the red. I'm not, but,
Well, it could be
Anyway.
misconstrued as red. I mean, it's kind of in between.
so, anyway, it's one of them.
Okay?
I know, and I guess I don't know about Ace, but I bought my Gravely at D&D or Lennox, D&D small engine. And they are outstanding. I mean, they work on a lot of different manufacturers, but
The golf course has had several things over at Ace Hardware, and we've been satisfied with them.
good. That's a lot closer, that's for sure. How will they get it there? Like, do we have a small trailer
They have a large trailer.
or a large trailer? All right, that's even better. Okay. Well, then let's move on to number 12. Dave, if you've got some,
Yeah, we're having issues with the pump. Hopefully it's back together this week. The guy said he didn't want us to run the main pump and try and pump too much water at one time until we dig the silt out of the pond. So tomorrow we will be doing that. We got to locate the end of the intake pipe, so not tomorrow, Wednesday. The diver will be coming from Sioux Falls to find that, and then the diver will be washing off, cleaning off, scraping off the intake screen so we can get good water flow. So, situation normal. This golf course takes a lot of money, but we got it handled. Library, we haven't heard anything about the computer scanner yet.
No, I will follow up on that though.
The library board recommended that we get a scanner, a UVC scanner, to disinfect the keyboards, computer keyboards. And we have that ordered, but it's not here yet. Hopefully it'll get here by the time school starts, because that's when things are gonna be jumping. Michelle's gonna need gloves and masks. So we'll be getting some of those for her. She said there's quite a few books coming in and out. Hopefully that continues. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay. So then we go on to number 13, personnel policy manual discussion. I know that there was an email that came that had the manuals, and then I believe that Vickie provided some feedback on, I think it was just a form, but some spoonerized telephone number.
It was transposed phone number.
They also sent me an email right before the meeting about maybe a couple typos. I haven't had a chance to go through and fix anything. I don't know if it's anything material or if we can pass it tonight without making those changes. Sam, can you hear me?
Yes, Melissa, I can. I think that any typographical changes like the ones Vickie or some other folks identified are going to be minor changes that wouldn't require reconsideration or a new vote or anything.
I have a question about page 15, 2.1412.
Okay, just give me a second to open it and find. Are you talking about the
Weapon,
prohibited section?
weapons prohibited part.
Okay.
It says, no person will be permitted to bring explosives or weapons on city property. So,
What was the number again?
2.1412, 2.14.2, top of the page 15, at least on my copy. Should that mean the police too? I hope not. Or should there be another word there between no and person?
Could be, yeah. So we talked about this as well. You could certainly say person, comma, with the exception of law enforcement personnel will be permitted. The other thing that we talked about a little bit on this is SDCL 9-19-20, which has been on the books since '83, but says the city can't pass an ordinance prohibiting folks from use, possession, transport, etc. of firearms. They strengthened that to now say that the Attorney General can essentially provide you notice and then seek injunctive relief, and that the city can be taken to court over that. So I don't know that the statute necessarily says we can prohibit employees from open carrying, let's say, if they work in the city office, but I also don't want to be the first to find out. But to your point, Dave, I think that you could certainly clarify that law enforcement are allowed to carry and possess weapons and whatever within.
I guess
Do
I would
our
hope.
law enforcement carry any of those prohibited weapons though? I mean, I don't think Jeff and Austin carry crossbows and bowie knives, but.
Not yet. but
You have no idea.
It says, but it says, or other weapons, and then not limited to. So it could be, I guess I'm thinking they're police issue pistols.
Well, yeah, then they've got their less than lethals, which is taser and what What do you guys carry for less than lethal
OC
taser
spray.
and what?
I got a pair of nunchucks in my pocket.
Oh, OC spray and taser, yeah.
OC and tasers, he said, Melissa.
Yeah, so I don't think any of that would be prohibited, but we can certainly edit the language to clear that up.
Next question on page 18, policy 3. When we get down to temporary or seasonal employee,
Yep,
can we change that to 8 months? We got people at the golf course that work more than 6 months. Or is there some statute that limits it to 6?
I'm not aware of any statute that limits it to 6. I don't think we came across that. I can certainly look.
are they working more than,
Some of them start in March if it's good weather, and the last day of golf season is October 30th, 31st, whatever.
and they're working more than 35 hours a week?
A couple of them are.
It's an easy enough change.
All right, we'll look into it, or Sam will look into it.
And the only other question I had about the thing was, what is the definition of department head? I brought that up before, but I'd like to get it clarified for myself.
It's the head of a department?
Okay, so who's
I'm not
the,
sure how else to
who's-
clarify it.
who's the department head for the sewer plant?
That would be Dale.
Okay, so when Dale wants to take vacation, he needs to fill out a form, have himself sign it and approve it, and then turn it in. Isn't that the procedure?
That is what the form says, yeah.
Okay. As long as I know, thanks. It's pretty
The
simple.
way I understood it is when Dale is gone, Lonnie's the one who fills in for him, is that correct?
Yes,
And vice versa?
Until Parker is certified.
yes.
So we might have to change the form so that whenever somebody is taking off, they're clearing it with whoever's going to be filling in for them. Would that help alleviate your concern?
Or have the finance officer approve it.
We can do that too.
You sure with that?
That's okay.
She says it's okay.
And I believe that's already on the form where it says department head or finance officer,
Okay,
so it should be,
that's all I have then. Thank you.
Okay, I do have some things on page 9, 2.2.4. A formal complaint of harassment or discrimination may be initiated in lieu of, during, or following the informal process as provided by state or federal law. That's really messy. It's not very clear. If there's a way that could be cleared up.
2.9 what?
2.2.4 on page 9. It seemed
They're talking about
cumbersome.
like an actual,
It seemed cumbersome.
I think that's talking about like actually filing a lawsuit.
Okay. Maybe we could work on clarifying it a little bit more. Then the next one is on page 10. Any individual who believes that she or a specific class of individuals with disabilities have been subject to unlawful discrimination, complaints should be addressed to the city finance officer. I would suggest naming an alternate So we have backup, you know, I don't want to cast any aspersions on Pat, but just so we're covering all bases, just have an alternate that we can turn those into.
Vickie, where are you at again?
It's
Page 10.
on page 10,
Okay.
toward the top, that first paragraph.
Do you have a suggestion for who you want to be the alternate? The mayor?
I would suggest the mayor. And the other thing, number 3, on that same page down, the finance officer with the assistance of the city attorney shall promptly conduct an informal but thorough investigation of the complaint. God forbid, down the road, we have a finance officer that's the perpetrator of the harassment. So we're asking someone to, again, that goes to the backup part of it. So looking down the road, you know, I'm not accusing anybody, but we have had situations similar, not with finance officer, but something similar, that that person, whoever's being harassed or whatever, needs to be able to go to someone else for relief.
So how do you want to handle that? Do you just want to have something that says that in the event the finance officer is accused, the council will appoint an alternative?
Right,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay.
Performance evaluations, 2.6 on page 11. Employees are required to sign their evaluations and may obtain a copy upon request. I would, instead of may, I would just, as a matter of process, give them a copy, so they have a copy. Instead of may, just give it to them so they have it.
Receive a copy.
Right, yes. Page 12, exit interviews, again, going back to that same thing. That the employee is furnished with their file. A copy of their file, just again, for our protection and their protection. Political activity, page 13, 2.11. I want to be really, really careful that we don't have employees campaigning on city time. That could get dicey for us. And it goes back to a South Dakota Municipal League recommendation that ballots that our finance office doesn't go, how do I want to, walk people through filling out their ballots. Nursing home, maybe it should be the nursing home that's assisting them, and we just pick them up. So there's no suggestion of impropriety.
I'm not sure I'm completely understanding. You want a policy that says that city employees cannot interfere in elections?
They can't campaign during their workday. South Dakota Municipal League. South Dakota Municipal
When you
League.
say campaign, what do you?
Introducing candidates, unless they're introducing all the candidates in a meeting or whatever, that kind of thing. It's just a protection so that it's the clarity is there.
You're talking about a new
You said
paragraph.
this is a statute?
South Dakota Municipal League recommends that finance officers and anybody in the finance office does not deliver ballots and help the people fill ballots out.
Okay, so you want a policy that's specific to the finance office or all city employees?
Well, specifically the finance office, because they're at risk. But like I said, South Dakota Municipal League does have a section in there where they come out and recommended that finance officers and people in the finance office don't do that. You know, they get them the ballot, but they don't, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, so I think let me just jump in here real quick. I think we're talking about a couple different things that are all important, and I think Vickie brings some valid concerns. Just one, I don't know where to put them, but I agree with you, I think they're important. And so the league does provide general guidance on elections, and what Vickie's referring to is there some guidance out there that says, hey, you know, if a first-time voter or someone who's very elderly and can barely see or read the ballot, it's just a lot cleaner if no city official, but it's often the finance officer who's involved with elections. You know, I can't help 99-year-old Edna, you know, I'm trying to vote for Bob, which box do I check? As the finance officer, we shouldn't be going over there to help her do that, even though we probably want to. Whether it needs to be in policy, I think you could make good arguments for both. But I think maybe a blanket way to say what Vickie's intending is that we just say that the finance officer shall make every effort to comply with municipal league guidance with respect to elections or something like that. I mean, I think we could reference it in there. I don't know if we need a different section that talks about municipal elections, and if that's where it needs to go, but I do think referencing the municipal league's guidance is probably good.
I would say municipal elections, because they're closer to that. They're federal elections isn't gonna be as much of an issue as what municipal.
Oh, sure, but I just don't think I think you just don't want, you know, we could have an issue 5 years from now where the city and the county are, you know, diametrically opposed to what we're gonna do with the road or something, and we got a polling precinct here, and we don't want the finance officer accused of having all the little old ladies from church
Yeah.
check the road
It's
box.
it's clarity and it's protection.
Yeah, so I agree with what you're saying.
I just don't know if the proper term for that is the campaign.
Yeah, so is that what the issue you're referring to as far as?
That's partially the issue.
Okay.
Influence
Yeah,
in any way.
well, and so to the.
So isn't there already a separate book on how to run an election?
Yeah, there's a municipal handbook that has the election, you know, best
So
practices.
do you just need to put something in there that says any city employee in charge of anything to do with an election will follow the municipal league guidelines in X book or whatever the hell it's called? Is it a book or is it just the?
What I'd seen was a recommendation.
I think we can just say recommendations set forth by the South Dakota Municipal League. Any best practices, and you could just say CCOG, the Muni League, and whoever else you want, and I think that covers it.
Okay, going on, city property, I think maybe that anybody that gets property or uses property from the city, maybe like the police department or
What number
whatever,
you at?
that they do an inventory.
Section?
Oh, I'm sorry, page 13, 2.13.
Okay.
And just have a full listing of the inventory that they're being assigned when they're hired, and they sign it and date it, and then they keep a copy, the city keeps a copy, so that when they leave, this copy's pulled up, checked off, and,
I believe that form is in the, it's one of the last pages in the
okay.
doc.
The appendix.
Okay. The other thing, punching in on the time clock, using time clock free, I believe I read that can be, the phone can be like a GPS, and that's all well and good if you're on the clock in GPS, but if you're off the clock and you've got this app on your phone, on your personal phone, that means there's the capability of tracing where you are and what you're doing after hours. I think that maybe the city should put a disclaimer on there, or not necessarily a disclaimer, but that has the ability, the system administrator does have that ability, when I read in Time Clock Free. It's something that we need to be aware of, that there's a possible question when it goes into your private time. So it's just a suggestion. Safety rules, I think probably we should have, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry I keep interrupting, Vicki. This is still 2.13, we're using the app?
2.13.1.
Okay.
And it's putting this app on the personal telephone and they get a stipend for their cell phones.
I'm not seeing the application in there. Am I looking at the wrong version?
It's not in there, it's just common knowledge. That
Oh,
we
it's,
use.
okay, we use it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's a suggestion.
Next week, we could be using TikTok.
Okay, I hope we are. I hope we are. Is there a way to disable the,
I believe that there's a way to disable that and say no, that you don't want the GPS
to follow you?
to after certain hours or to follow you.
I think what we do is when you become a city employee, you're provided with the answer to the riddle of how to make that
Right,
go away.
so, okay,
And I think that goes in your personnel file.
okay.
Here's how you turn
I
it
have a
off.
question. Do we encourage people to download this app on their own? Are we taking any chance with the app?
When I'm going through orientation with the employee, I do say if they want to, they can put it on their phone, yes. And oftentimes, I will,
Then I think, sorry. You finish what you were saying, sorry, I can't see that you're still talking.
oftentimes, they'll ask me to help them get it on there, because there is a login into our account, which is the city account.
Okay, so I think rather than debating putting a disclaimer in our personnel manual, if it's already part of an orientation thing, we can just disclaim it right then and there.
Well, that, and if you're any app you download, you have to click the box to consent anyway. So if there are privacy concerns, that's something that, consumer needs to be aware of anytime you download any app, not just this app.
Pat, are we even using GPS on the administrative side?
No.
Is there an option to use it?
I was not even aware that was an option. I don't have that knowledge of how to track the employees. We don't do that.
You're talking about, Vicki, more from the provider, the app maker is tracking people, right?
No,
You're talking about-
the administrator of, our city administrator, the person in our city that administrates the app and pulls the information down off that app has that ability, according to the information that I got from Time Clock Free.
Okay.
And when we log in to adjust people's time, I don't even see that's an option for me. So, but I just wanted to make sure that we knew. First aid kits on all vehicles, do we have that?
We do on the PD cars, we have a med kit, but I can't account for any other.
Okay,
We do have it in the city, in Lonnie's city truck.
okay. So that's taken care
We
of.
don't have them on the city tractor at the golf course.
Okay.
Do you have it at the golf course though? You have a,
Yeah, you got it, yeah.
in the golf course clubhouse, yeah.
Okay. The one thing, 2.15, accident reporting and investigation. We may want to look at accidental versus act of criminal nature, where it's, or accident versus negligence. We may want to find something for that, that we document in the investigative part of that.
You mean like a box check, this is an accident,
This
this is.
yeah, because what this is saying is that we're responsible for work-related accidents. And if it's negligent on an employee that causes another employee to be injured, our work comp pays for it, but then we've got this possibly criminal act we may want to verify, or it's hard to explain. But it's something that we protect ourselves through a work comp issue.
Can't write policy on it if you can't explain it.
Well, I haven't researched it enough to be able to explain it tonight. I can in a future date.
Okay.
Personal appearance swimsuits at the pool, one piece for the ladies. A little more modest. Using city email for personal use, again, that's a gimme. One thing, this is on page 17.
1 second, can we go back real quick?
Sure.
Did you say something about personal appearance?
Yes, that was on page 16, 2.16.
And what were you saying?
Swimsuits be city issued, one piece more modest than what I've seen at the pool recently for employees.
Shucks.
You're asking us to be more specific about what we're gonna request, rather than just leaving it general, so that if the pool wants to issue a, they can.
What I'm saying is the swimsuit, or I'm sorry, the pool personnel, lifeguards, etc., will have a uniform, much like we have the guys doing work for the city, that they have a uniform, that we provide the swimsuits, and it'd be a one-piece, blue, gold, whatever.
Who do we have in the city who wears a uniform besides the officers?
Okay, that works.
Well, and just to answer your question, all of our lifeguards do have lifeguard suits. They're all from the lifeguard store. I mean, they're,
Okay, well, like I said, this dealt with modesty more than anything. Like I said, other places I've seen, they're usually a one piece with city of Canton or city of whatever on it. That you know.
That's gonna be a big expense to provide 2 or 3 suits for all of the
And they
lifeguards.
might only be here 1 year, and then the next year you got different size,
I mean, those are like $40 or $50 a piece, aren't they?
at
They're more
least.
than that.
At
I was gonna
least.
say they're more
I
than
would
that,
say
and
yes.
we price them and
I
they were,
just-
and we make them
So
our
I
own
think,
suits.
are the male lifeguards required to wear a one piece too, like a onesie or?
I think,
I'm just saying modest. I'm not looking for combat boot laces as a swimsuit. That's my
I
concern.
think that the way that it's currently written, we have it general enough that if the department wants to require a one piece, they absolutely can. But we're not going to sit here and specifically say dimensionally what we want the swimsuit to be. Like, the departments are fully capable of making that decision. Then if push comes to shove, so is the council. But as a personnel manual, it just tells them dress appropriate.
I will say, Vickie, I think if you're concerned about a midriff, I don't know that the city wants to wade into whether or not we should have a young lady's stomach exposed. I see your point about the combat boots, lace strap swimsuit. I would guess, without having been a lifeguard, that the lifeguard suits that are made for lifeguards probably have to be somewhat robust and capable of keeping parts in places, because there's, if you gotta go rescue somebody, you don't want that thing coming off, right? So
That's exactly right.
I think part of that concern is addressed just by the nature of what they're doing and what they've got to wear, and it sounds like they're purchasing stuff that's made for the job. I just, from my perspective, I don't know that you want to wade into telling somebody they got to wear a one piece or two piece, but I suppose it's an affluent employment deal, so we could.
Well, like I said, I was just looking at what we had as policy. The other thing, employees and members of the public may use city equipment to transport or print materials. I have a problem in that, in the sense that I'm gonna go back to an issue where we have let things out, I don't think we should, to private individuals, and we've had people pour concrete in the park, albeit it was donated, but I'm here to tell you that that one sidewalk in the park is not ADA, and it was done by a private group. We don't want to be doing that, because we are subject to ADA. I was a sub, I had children.
Are we still talking about the policy manual, or what are we talking about?
This is page 17. It doesn't have a number on it. It's a bullet point just above 2.17.3. And it's the loaning out of city equipment, and this thing had come to mind also. I took disabled children through the park in a chair, a wheelchair, and that one sidewalk is so slanted and so not ADA, and that was put in as somebody was a friend of somebody, and they were gonna pour that, and we're subject to ADA, and it is, I promise you, that's not ADA, because I had to walk alongside of the wheelchair to keep it on. I finally had to get off the sidewalk and push in the grass. So it's something we need to be aware of.
2.17 is strictly talking about computers and internet.
Right, this, let's see.
This is not talking about anything other than the city's.
Okay, but it dealt with city equipment, and that's why I was bringing it up. Let's see.
I don't think what you're talking about there, Vickie, should go there. There may be a place for it, but I don't think it should be under the heading of computer and internet policy.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my point.
My whole thing is that what's the city should stay in the city employees, but we shouldn't be loaning it out to the public unless it's library books or something like that. Definition of terms contained within the policy manual, that should be in the appendix, so that if there's anything that we question, for instance, the definition of department head, that we're spelling it out, that's what that is.
Yeah, we talked about that, and there was, Sam and Marcus and I sat down for 4 hours, July 23rd, and talked about this. There was some pressure to get it done faster. We just ran out of time to get it in there. There were people who wanted copies of it last Friday, and just ran out of time.
Okay. Page 20.
Also, I do not believe that these definitions should be moved to an appendix. I think that these definitions are specific to employee obligations, and they should stay exactly where they are. I agree that if there needs to be an appendix with other definitions outside of these that are not specific to a subsection, but in general across the entire document, that's something that should definitely be taken and put in an appendix. But these are specific to inform you exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about employees and how they're classified. So I don't think that we should be shifting it.
Okay. Well, wherever you put it, that it's identified as definitions of what you're using within the document. On page 21, 5.4 and 5.6, callback pay and on-call time. It's a little confusing. Callback pay, I'm assuming that's setting out a minimum of what you're going to get paid for a callback. It has to be at least an hour, or you're going to get paid a minimum of an hour. And then,
That is correct.
and on-call time is what you get paid for while you're on call, but you're at home and you're on call.
Also correct.
And like I said, I just wanted to, it was a little, the callback pay was a little, when I read through it, first, second time read, it was a little confusing, so we want to make sure that we're clear on that. Overtime forms for everybody. This is page 22, 5.7, that if someone is working overtime, that they fill out a form for it. I do have copies of a form for overtime, that has to be signed off.
The mayor already has to authorize overtime pay.
Right, and that has been in the thing, but that was not carried through on in the past. So I just wanted to make sure that that was noted and that we're actually doing that. If it appears in the manual, then we should be doing it.
It doesn't say anything about a form, it just says the mayor has to approve.
In the former manual, this is a couple years ago, that it was a form, that they signed a form and it was documented, it was dated and signed, that was there, so. Okay, next point that I had to make, page 24, under 6.5, workers' comp. If an employee is injured on the job, work-related medical costs are paid in full. It should be paid in full, in my opinion.
Where does it say that it's?
It's just, again, it's the third paragraph under 6.5. If an employee is injured on the job, work-related medical costs are paid as well as compensation rate for salary loss. I think that in full may be a wise thing to add on there. So that,
Paid is
It
paid.
says work-related
It
medical
says
costs
that
are
they're
paid.
paid.
Yeah.
That should be enough. It says paid.
okay, and it's intuitive up to, or it's up to semantics, so just saying.
So Vickie, to answer kind of, I think your concern, you've got, I'm going to call it paragraph 3 that you read. If an employee is injured on the job, work-related medical costs are paid as well as the compensation rate for salary loss as set by the state of South Dakota. So what that means to me is that medical costs, salary costs are going to be paid in accordance with South Dakota's workers' comp system that we're already participating in. And so I see the point you're making, but when you get to participate in workers' comp, you got to follow the rules. And so what I read that as saying is we're going to pay the medical costs and any reimbursements in accordance with the rules. Is
Okay.
how it reads.
And like I said, this is going to employees, so that they understand this.
Okay.
Signing the authorization, 29, under FMLA leave. The city may also contact this healthcare provider to clarify information on the medical certification, but you must sign the appropriate authorization form for such contact. That's HIPAA. I mean, you're pulling HIPAA, so that needs to be.
Where are you?
I'm on page 29, 7.10, second paragraph, last sentence in the second paragraph.
Okay, the city has no HIPAA. The HIPAA does not apply to us. We are not a medical provider. If we contact somebody's doctor and they don't want to talk to us, that's on the medical facility to tell us no. We do not have any obligations under HIPAA.
Okay, but you must sign the appropriate authorization form for such contact. And if you do not want to disclose,
I think that you should be the employee must sign.
right, but what I'm saying is that this has a coercive taste to it. I'm just.
That's our point, that HIPAA doesn't apply to us.
HIPAA applies to the city as far as if the city has medical records, they cannot share them with anybody else.
That's, Vickie is correct to an extent. What I think we're after here in the paragraph is if an employee wants to take advantage of FMLA or something, we are not out of bounds by saying we got to see a doctor's note or we got to have some some form of medical documentation that
They're certified to go back to work?
yeah, that tells us you can go back to work or whatever.
Okay,
If you, and it could be worded a little better in that last sentence potentially, but if you as the employee choose to exercise your right to tell us we don't get that information or we don't rate it, that's fine. If you want to take advantage of the benefit under 7.10, but you don't sign a release form that allows your medical provider to give us the information we need, you don't get the benefit. Or you don't get, we can say, for example, in your scenario, Vickie, of we need something that says you're healthy to come back to work and climb ladders and do whatever. If you don't want to get us that info, we don't have to let you come back to work,
right.
is where we're at.
Yeah, but I just wanted to make sure that was clarified. One thing that, going down 7.10.2, or as, it had to do with contract of city paid premiums are in question. I came across this personally at an employer. The employer failed to pay the premiums. The employees were not notified that the premiums weren't being paid. Now, I don't see that happening with the city, but I want to be really careful because the first that the employees of this, it happened in Aberdeen, the first that the employees knew that they paid the premiums in, and the first they knew that the employer had not paid the premium for the medical was when the wife gave birth to the son, and that's when they were told that the insurance wasn't any good. So we want to cover that.
That doesn't have anything to do with 7.10.2, does it? That's coming back after a serious health condition. or military leave.
During the approval, the city will maintain your health and other benefits as if you continue to be actively employed. What this brought to bear is that the city pays insurance premiums. And that's that instance that I'm referring to came to mind, that the insurance company argued that they weren't in any obligation to contact the employees, just the employer, that they weren't, and none of the employees knew that it was coming out of their paycheck, but it wasn't being paid. And this is the thing I want to guard against.
Okay.
So, testing of drugs. Definition of reasonable.
What page?
Oh, I'm sorry. 36, 1.5. That, in this one, definition of reasonable. And the other thing is that who's ever testing is a certified person to be tested. You don't want to hand it off to somebody that's not certified in testing for drugs or whatever. Just an observation there. And who collects the samples?
Sam, is there anything, like if we wanted to buy those home test kits, is there anything statutory that would forbid us from doing that?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. I think if I administered a home test to the chief, probably several issues wrong with that from an evidentiary perspective in criminal court. I think you could have a lot of fun with it on the civil side as well, but I don't know that there's anything that prohibits us from doing that. There may very well be, but nothing's coming to mind.
Part of the reason is that I've done the forensic DNA testing. I've read the manual on that. And DNA can be moved from one area to another very, very easily. And this is what's coming into the testing and the collection of samples.
Well, sure, and I look, I think it says in the ultimate paragraph in that section, the employee where reasonable suspicion exists may be asked to submit blood or urine testing by a qualified medical physician or hospital at the city's expense. You know, I think that requires that we get somebody who knows what they're doing to do it. I would very strongly encourage the city not to have your typical city employees perform any kind of tests on anybody. Maybe one exception I would have, and I want to do research before I say this is a good idea, but if I show up tuned up and I'm about to get on the city mower, and the chief says, I'd like to give you a breathalyzer, that may be the one exception, but I don't know that we want to have our law enforcement folks burdened with that responsibility. So I think the policy manual says you got to go to the hospital and have a physician or a medical professional do it, and I think that's the way it should be done.
Okay. Just, and the last thing that I have is page 43. I find it concerning, it's the separation checklist and the items that are checked and the not available designation. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with that. If that's checked, what does that mean? I mean, I know it's not available, but for what reason?
That may be not applies.
Right.
Well, if they don't have a storage locker, why would they have a storage locker key?
Well, or like accrued vacation due, if we have a lifeguard that we're going through this with, they probably don't have any accrued vacation.
So it's not applicable.
Applicable.
Okay, well, like I said, I had a question on it. I wanted to clarify it, so
Yeah, well, that's why we're here.
that's everything that I had marked.
So just real quick for everybody, and Melissa, Marcus, anybody else, if you disagree, please voice it, but I didn't, in any of the concerns that we heard from anybody, I did not hear anything that I thought amounted to like a major change that or major proposal of really going sideways to the point where we would need to start the resolution process over. I think a lot of these are grammatical changes or changes that are minor to the point that if we need to make amendments, we can, but if anybody feels differently, I think you should voice that in this session here.
I don't hear any voicing. So, that being said, Marcus and Melissa, you're aware of all of these different points that were just brought up. I think Sam is under the impression, as I am, that we can go ahead with the motion to approve the policy manual. I guess what I'm interested in is how we do make modifications down the line.
And I can answer that, Mr. Mayor, and again, Marcus and Melissa, tell me if you feel differently. This is being done by resolution, so the simple change would be that we could introduce another resolution changing, making basically a big list of here's what we want to change in each section, write that resolution up, and then it would be voted up or down by the council if and when that happened.
I'm all right with that.
I would also suggest that additions or edits to it in the future, not only are by resolution where it lists out what you're planning on changing, but also includes a new copy of the document so it's understood exactly what was passed.
So you're saying, Marcus, that if we change a paragraph on page 30, we gotta essentially adopt a whole new document, and that official copy becomes the official copy. Is that accurate?
I'm not saying that you have to necessarily adopt the whole new document, but what you're doing is you're demonstrating I'm changing let's say line 17.3 to be instead of she to they, whatever, some nonsense thing that we're changing. But to say documents would actually have the whole document, so there is no confusion. I just want to know that it actually got changed when you said you were changing it. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
So if I understand, he's talking about strike through the old and put the new underneath in maybe a different color. Is that essentially what you're talking about, Marcus?
In theory, I'm not saying that we should actually then go through and strike through all the old documents. That would be a lot of strike through to just say that a lot of the same things. But yeah, I'm just saying that you would then just actually put the changed document as like an appendix to what you just said you were changing. So that everyone actually knows. Not only did we say we were changing it, but I can actually see the evidence that it was changed to what they said.
Okay.
I think with the previous manual, which was passed in 2000, it got updated several times, but it was just added to like paper by paper. Nobody ever created like a whole new document. So there were several different copies of the manual out there, and not all of them were the same. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus, is that what you're concerned about, is the uniformity, making sure that
That's what I'm hoping
everybody has the same document.
That's what I'm hoping that the council can avoid by just constantly saying, we're making this change, so here's the whole new document with that change in it. And it's just providing it to the city as it does those changes, rather than making a small edit and then someday we kind of come back and we're like, oh shoot, this whole document is kind of outdated because we have all these random resolution papers that say we changed X on this thing, Y on that thing.
And I think it's a lot easier to do that now than it was 20 years ago because everybody has an email address. Everybody can easily get an updated electronic copy for little to no cost to the city. We don't need to print out paper forms. And obviously, if an employee wants to request one, I have nothing against them getting a paper copy, but changes should be a lot easier now than they were 20 years ago, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree.
I would like to see one stamped official copy in the finance office file someplace, and then every time something changes, the old and the new are published, put in that official copy side by side so that people know which is the newest version.
At Custom Coils, when anything was changed in a design production data sheet, we have a stamp that we stamp the old one obsolete. That's, I think, something that needs to be done. I agree with Dave. I think that the old version should be available to look at. The new version that is complete should be available to look at in the finance office. But somehow or other, that's got to be stamped that the old version is the old version and it is obsolete.
Is there any
Yeah,
reason?
I agree.
Is there any reason why that could not go out to the city website?
The
Any
policy
updates?
manual? I don't know why it couldn't.
I compared ours to my works today. And my works is online. And whenever there's a change, it's highlighted. So when I looked at it today, anything that was newer done was highlighted yellow. So I knew that this was a recent change. But on top of that, once a year, we have to verify we've read it and sign a paper that says we read the changes.
Sure.
And that form is in the back here too.
Yeah. So I don't think it hurt to have that.
Okay, well, there's a line there that says motion to approve. If there, go ahead.
I move to approve the City of Alcester Personnel Policy Manual dated June 2020 edition.
I'll second.
Even though it's July,
August.
August.
Right. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Melissa, how do you vote?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Marcus?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Vickie?
Aye.
Darla?
Aye.
All in favor. Motion passed. Congratulations. The personnel policy manual's been updated.
Thanks for
It
your
only
work,
took
folks.
2 years.
Yeah, that was a lot of work, but yeah, really much appreciated. Okay, let's move on to legal updates.
I have no legal updates, Mr. Mayor.
Let's move on to number 15, executive session, contractual matters.
Sam, is that needed?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I like that. Let's move on to number 16, planning and zoning ordinance amendment. In your packet, you should have, somewhere here, ordinance number 2020-08, Planning and Zoning Commission. This would actually be the second
Second reading.
Second
reading, yes. We would need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 2020-08, an ordinance amending the Alcester zoning regulations, chapter 5, PD, Plan Development District for the city of Alcester.
I'll second.
Okay,
Marcus, wasn't it?
Yep.
Oh,
Marcus?
What, Marcus?
Marcus seconds. There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Melissa, how do you vote?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Marcus?
Aye.
Dave?
aye.
Vickie?
Aye.
Darla?
Aye.
Motion passed, all unanimous. We'll move on to number 17, finance officer office updates.
Okay, so if you haven't been up to the swimming pool, our new sign is up and mounted with the rules for
Looks
the
nice.
the
I
big
noticed
pool.
it.
And next year, we're going to do the sign for the baby pool rules and get that mounted. So the last day of pool operation is Sunday the 16th. The lifeguards have already posted that on Facebook. It's being shared around, so that's good. And we have a little supper we do for the lifeguards every year, and we have that planned for Wednesday the 12th. I want to say thank you to Dave and the mayor and Rebecca and Wanda and the chief in Austin for all the hard work in painting and moving day. Having all that assistance, we were done with our move by noon, and then the guys tackled the pool table after that. So there's very few items left in the auditorium right now, which is amazing. The USD payoff for the water loan will happen on August 5th. She just emailed me the final payoff amount this morning. It'll be $35,746.06, and that will leave a cash balance of $173,871 in the water fund. So the reason for the delay of not having it done before August 1st was they needed 14 days to do the closing process, and so August 5th was the first available day, so that'll come out this week. One of the things that we moved, I need some guidance on from you. On these one tables, the documents in the big binders that have burgundy on them are the tax rolls. And these tax rolls are from 1896 to the 1970s.
1907.
And recommendation for keeping tax rolls is typically 15 years. After documents become 50 years old, we have to talk to the state, and we have to talk to the state archivist to see if they would be interested in this information if you guys don't want to keep it anymore. So, I just need some direction. I don't know how you feel about it. The other thing that I would like to ask your opinion on, there on the other table, there are 4 boxes of warrants or vouchers from the 1960s through the 70s. I don't need to keep those, but again, they're getting close, they're over the 50 years, so I will have to ask for permission or alert the state if you guys decide you would like to get rid of them. So, how do you feel about the tax roll documents? Do you want to keep them? Do you want to explore avenues to get rid of them? Or do you want time to think about it?
So how much
We could
is
start a
it looked
museum.
at? Who's really looked at? Have they been looked at?
They have not been looked at. In fact, Wanda affectionately called the closet where these were stored, the scary closet, because they were down underneath the stairs in the auditorium. And I always thought they were VFW ledgers because they were with the VFW things. But when the VFW came and got all their stuff, they left those. So then I pulled them down and I'm like,
They're
oh.
dusty and dirty and stinky, so you know they've never been touched.
Never been looked at.
I've been there over 22 years and I've never,
You know, if you wanna keep some of the tax rolls, you know, like the 1800 ones and maybe up to like 1925 or something. I mean, I don't even know if people who are interested in ancestry would be interested in that. I don't know.
I think it would make a lot of sense to talk to the historians and see what their take is before we officially decide what to do, obviously.
When you say historians
The
in
state-
Alcester?
State archive
Okay,
people.
The South Dakota State Historical Society or the
Yeah,
archivist or whoever it is.
Yeah, the archivist.
okay.
At least that will tell us right there if there is any, I mean, really, I'm not saying value monetary wise, but value to these. And if they just say, no, well then, I feel a little bit more comfortable just saying, well, nobody's looked at them for X years, make them go away.
Do we have every year, I mean,
I was gonna put them in chronological order. I'm going to say that we do up until the 60s, maybe?
okay, so everything from earlier than 1970 has to go through this state office?
Anything over 50 years old.
Okay, so what do you think about keeping, like, does 1970 have to go through the state office? Or is it,
Technically, we're not done with 2020,
Okay.
but
so what if we kept 70, 75, 80, 85,
on the
90,
5-year mark,
95, and through the rest of the way?
that would
That would
be-
eliminate 20, and we'd be keeping 20% of them.
Mhm,
And then the old ones, we'll have to check with the state
right.
office. I mean, that's just my suggestion, because if somebody's looking for ancestry information, people didn't move around as much.
No.
Maybe every 5 years would give somebody an opportunity to check on that.
I do think once you check with the state, they're probably not gonna be interested in them, I would guess, but I could be wrong. I don't know if you'd put an ad in the paper saying,
I was wondering,
we're
somebody
gonna,
might want them.
yeah, we're gonna ditch these, but if you want them, you can have them. They're an ex-public record, so I don't think there's anything wrong.
Okay.
Kind of what the school did with some of their stuff. Kind
Or yeah, I mean, it's like surplus library books, kind of.
of, yeah.
Another little gem that we have is this one sitting in front of you. Wanda plugged it in, we can't get it to work. It's a very vintage cash register. And where did you say it was from?
I don't know where it was from. I'm assuming probably
Mike?
a liquor store.
Liquor store.
Ah,
Liquor store?
Liquor store.
Yeah.
so we couldn't get it to work. I don't know what you would like me to do with it. It's very,
Maybe it's 32 volt yet.
it's heavy.
Did all the other stuff sell that was on the auction?
I'm gonna list it, I honestly haven't been
Yeah,
able to
done
be
that.
around my phone where I could like hop away and if somebody needed to get something, so tomorrow I'm gonna list all of our stuff. It's all lined up in the gym and ready to go.
Could you put that on it?
Sure.
Well, sure, you're gonna make me haul it back over there.
No, leave it here. Just take a
They can
picture.
show
Just take a picture of it here.
But to me, it does not work, so, I mean, unless you want it for some historical reason, but
Contact the
Maybe
pickers.
pickers will come here.
Yeah, contact the pickers and they may say, I need that for my.
What?
Is it empty?
We can't get it open.
I can't get it open, so.
We don't, nothing works. I mean, we can't.
It's old.
So,
But if it does have something in it, I'll check it out.
so that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So then the next item would be the warrants. Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrants.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the warrants. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Melissa, how do you vote? Melissa?
Can you hear me now? Sorry.
I can. Yeah.
I'm going to abstain since I was not there to see any of the warrants.
Understood. Linda?
Aye.
Marcus?
I'm abstaining also.
All right. Dave?
Aye.
Vickie?
Aye.
Darla?
Aye.
4 yes, 2 abstained. And, well, there's the tax roll books, school sign, contribution from the city.
So I was approached by a member of the school board. The new sign is up for the school on the southeastern property. The sign costs about $44,000. The school is footing half of that. And then they're asking if people want to make a donation. Your donation would allow you then to do some advertising on the sign. Is that something that you would be interested in doing?
Do we get a certain amount of advertising, or is it just anything we want to put on there is going to scroll through the thing?
Correct.
Where would we get $1,000 from if we decided to do that, or 2,000?
We will find it.
We're going to probably need that sign when we get the community center open.
I agree.
Well, the one downtown doesn't really work anymore.
No, it does not.
Well, and it wouldn't hurt until the community center's open to scroll something about the lots. I mean, the
Yeah.
HRC lots that are for sale. Now we've got somebody else interested in another lot too. but I don't know. Who.
I mean,
Jared.
woo-woo,
Oh,
yes.
woo, yeah. Yeah, that is. And it's just a single lot and for a single dwelling, single family dwelling. So that's a good thing.
I do have a question. Legally, tax dollars is a contribution. Any question on that?
I could look for you if you're concerned, and I think maybe we hold off on a vote on it tonight, but generally assisting with something like this, I don't see why there'd be an issue, but I'd have to look, Vickie. I'm not comfortable just saying go for it off the cuff, but it seems like something's done fairly often.
Okay, but I
No, I agree with what you're saying, but yeah, I think it's gonna be okay. I can't think of a reason off the top of my head why it wouldn't be okay. But, we have a second meeting in August, don't we?
Correct.
Yeah, I can find out for you by then.
All right, well, in that
Thank you.
case, we won't go any further on that for now. Somewhere in your packet, you've got a list of records that we want to destroy for August 2020. I guess I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to destroy the Alcester City record list for August 2020.
I'll second it.
All right, we've got a second, or excuse me, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Melissa, how do you vote?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Marcus?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Vicky?
I
Darla?
Aye.
All yes. Records will be destroyed. Alcester Community Building, closing date / paperwork. We already said that it was gonna be the 17th, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And Sam has the paperwork done, and either tonight or tomorrow I'll have you sign.
Okay. Budget Committee. So,
When's the next meeting?
Well, I wanted to clarify two things. Originally, when we started talking about the budget, we had Melissa, Marcus, and you. And now, since the revised council committee is done, do you, and I guess all of you or Mr. Mayor, who would you like on the budget committee for 2021? Do you want to have Marcus on there, or do you want to have Vickie, being she's in finance?
Marcus wasn't at the first meeting.
He was not, but, so,
it's a good question, because I originally did have Marcus listed, didn't I?
yes.
I guess this is the Finance and Budget Committee,
Okay.
but that doesn't necessarily mean that, I don't know. I'm gonna say that we'll go with this committee.
Okay, so budget committee members will be Melissa, Dave, and Vickie. So then the three of you, the soonest I would be able to have something ready for you would be one day next week. Is there a time next week that we could meet?
I'm free unless they tell me yes when I call in Friday.
Oh, are you jury duty?
Yes.
Wednesday afternoon?
We can go for that.
Melissa, when do you start school?
The 17th.
Okay.
I don't think you're gonna get to be on my jury, Vickie.
Hmm?
I don't think you're gonna get to be on my jury.
No, no.
It's for me. So
Oh, wait.
Would you be available next Wednesday afternoon? Melissa?
The 12th?
Yes.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. So what time?
1 o'clock.
Whatever works for everybody else, I can make it work.
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock.
Okay, 1 o'clock.
1 p.m.,
August 12th?
Thank
August
you.
12th. Wow, that was quick. Okay, reminders and updates. Free green fees weekend, August 8th and 9th. And the pool closes August 16th. Regarding that dinner on the 12th,
Yes.
how is that handled? I mean, What have you done in the past?
We always go to the golf course, and we have them make something. Usually the lifeguards like a taco bar,
Oh, yeah.
but I don't know, I've asked for suggestions this year, if they want something different. And then either brownies or, and it's just a time to say what worked, what went well, what do we need to change, who's coming back.
Great, that's great. Okay. As far as an HRC update, the only update that I have is that I did hear that there's a very real possibility that another lot will be sold. What I heard Jared say was, it's going to happen. We just don't know exactly when. So, but it's encouraging because all of a sudden you get 2 or 3 houses there, and then that leads the kind of interest that it's a snowball effect, hopefully. But that's the only update I have, aside from, we were supposed to have a meeting in July, and we did not. We just did not meet. I think they're still planning on doing that again in the not-too-distant future. They're concerned about covenants and/or information about specifically Schauses. So that's all I have. We'll move on to the Fair Board update.
Well, it's this weekend.
Yeah, the 2 days.
Tractor pull Friday,
And livestock shows
and
Friday and Saturday.
livestock, both Friday and Saturday. The Lion's Den will be open Friday and till noon, or till food runs out on Saturday. So,
Excellent. All right, Alcester Community Building update.
well, we had a conference call, but actually we had a face-to-face with the contractor and the architects and the committee. And we went line by line through the numbers and felt very comfortable with the cuts that have been made and the donations that we have received, and we're ready to let the project begin. We did have a couple of changes. City Hall and the fitness center will not be in the building. City Hall and the fitness center will be in this building. And so that way more space can be devoted for more seating, both in the clubhouse dining and in the event hall. So,
Does everybody have one of these? Or
no,
just me?
that just came out today. So, we're just finalizing the last changes that were recommended on Friday. We had a conference call this morning, and I got the drawings this afternoon, so.
So what's everybody think about that, keeping the place here?
I'm in favor of it.
What will be the cost? So will we have to rent this thing?
Yeah.
Well, unless we take ownership of it.
The industrial board is willing to give this building to us if we want it.
Oh,
That would be the old part too?
No,
Oh.
it would be the newer, the
Just
two
this,
newer parts.
this,
So it would be from the
and
music room north.
This?
Yes.
Yeah, this and music room north and the ag building.
Yes.
okay, and they,
Now, that being said,
So
what was that, Marcus?
so I spoke to the superintendent after I was called up, apparently the gym is closing, because that's embarrassing that I didn't know such a thing. And he told me that the only reason that they would close is if the city actually asked them to stop being a public gym. And so I just wanted to let everyone know that if you wanted to cut it off of the city fitness center, the school would still operate as a public fitness center. So I just wanted that to be like firmer to be aware of.
That's good to know. One thing I think that we need to consider, if the city does become owner of this property, this is not just a little property to take care of, and specifically the forced air, air conditioning, furnace, everything, it's gonna require a plant manager, if you will. Now, that being said, there is real possibility of there being income generated by the facility because of the possibility of things going in here. So, that, I think as long as we're at a zero balance, when all is said and done, we're not in it to make money, but we just wanna break even. Pay our maintenance person whatever we bring in for rent, and it could be a good, it really could be a good thing.
So to answer your question, until the plan development goes through publication, we're renting under the school, but Mr. Reed did not want any money from us as long as we were willing to do the groundskeeping, which we are doing. When the transition takes place from the school to industrial board, that's when a rental agreement will be drafted, unless at that point the council feels comfortable in obtaining ownership of this building. So,
I think on the face of it, we have an opportunity if we buy it or buy is not the right word, but
Assume control, yeah.
assume control of it. I think that there's a lot of possibilities. It's handicap accessible at this point. I understand putting heat and water into an old building. I've done that a couple times, and it's not fun, but once it's done, I think that it's beneficial. The city has already done planning on this particular thing a while ago as a city school library, and to reap the benefits of something that we did again earlier. That's a good thing. I think that there'll be community support for this. I truly do. I truly do. The one drawback that I see is that when we advertise meetings or whatever and stuff for city meetings and stuff, that isn't downtown anymore, and people aren't walking by and seeing it, the ability, but if we get that website up,
Yeah.
that we're gonna have
And
that.
the sign for Southeast.
Yeah, and the sign, and the sign.
That could say the same thing.
Yes, right.
Come to the old library, come to the new city office. These two rooms right here are now one,
yes,
and that is going to be
thrift store.
the thrift store. That's
for sure.
huge.
Yeah.
That is huge. That's fantastic.
They busted out the wall
Oh, they did?
and cleaned that up, and now today Pastor Scott was here and they were painting,
Oh,
and,
well,
yeah.
that'll be great.
So I think they're planning
That
on
one down there
opening
is gross.
mid-month, the teens,
I'm not sure.
so.
It might be later than that, but because they have got to haul everything up, but
Yeah.
possibly.
So,
A lot of room in there. It's really nice.
I
So if we
think,
bring the fitness center up here, that'll be 3 of the,
Right.
what will there be, 3 more?
Yes, but there's also another business that's going to move in here, and somebody else that expressed interest for
That's
office
good.
space.
So we might,
So really, there's only one room left and the shelves.
and the what?
Well, the
Shop house.
whatever, the shop.
The shop.
Yeah,
At
the
the
ag, the ag
ag
part.
building.
There's two offices in there and then the big open area.
So again, now, all of a sudden, you're looking at the kind of income generating possibilities that would support itself.
You guys would get to keep this room.
I don't know, we haven't even been here a week yet.
But I mean,
But-
the purpose is a bigger place.
Yes,
But
I
it
agree.
makes sense that it
I
would
agree.
be,
I think so.
What I like about this setup is they've got their stuff there.
Mhm.
They move it over here when we have meetings.
Right.
Right.
Since it's twice a month.
Yes,
Pretty handy, I would
Yes.
think, for
But the downside will be, when we get the community center, then you're gonna have to have somebody there.
Mhm.
when it's open.
well, that, keep
To
in
show
mind,
it around and
That's
to.
right.
keep in mind the fact that somebody will probably be manning this kitchen and,
Maybe that.
you know, I mean, so,
It might be noon to, or 2 o'clock to midnight kind of thing, except during golf season, and then there'll be somebody there taking care of the golf.
Yeah, we went to Haywarden's golf course 2 or 3 times lately in Abe, so it's really a good.
Mhm.
you know, I think it's gonna be really nice.
So that's things to think about, but that's kind of what's happening along the timeline. So for right now, the school, we're still under the school. After plan development gets done, then we'll switch over to industrial. At that point, we'll negotiate some sort of contract until the city decides one way or another for sure if they want it or don't want it.
One question I have, the old facility, the old building, there was a storm shelter and stuff. Do we have anything that will replace that?
At this point, I don't.
We don't. It's something, you know,
The restrooms probably are considered the best location for a storm in this area. They're both right in the center of the building, and there's no windows, and they are blocked, right?
Yes, this whole building is.
So,
There is a dark room halfway down the hallway too.
it was just something that, you know, we had, and it was, you know, at the auditorium, which having it downstairs was an impediment to anybody with any kind of disability.
oh, that was, yes.
And anything happening after 5 o'clock, it was iffy, and I've seen that happen at Cuddy's, and that was scary. That was really, really scary. So you know, if we can manage or whatever to kind of replace that deficit.
Okay, well, we're gonna move on to the EMS update, and ironically enough, just a moment ago, my phone went off, and it was Jeff Nahava asking me to call him, and I explained I was in a council meeting, so I will be calling him. I do know that he met tonight with the EMT group. I spoke with the mayor of Haywarden. I also spoke with the city administrator over there, and everybody seems to be on board with setting up some kind of a contract with Jeff Nahava to be an, I guess you would call it the EMS director here. It's gonna be very limited hours, but I don't even know what that is yet. I'm assuming I'll probably learn more tonight, and I'll report more at the next meeting. But it's very encouraging because Jeff Nahava took a failing EMS department, and they got 35 people on their list of roster of EMTs. So if he can come anywhere close to, you know, a third to half of that here, we'd be sitting pretty. So,
The one thing I'm very concerned about is the number of people in this community, if we're doing an enforced, if the ambulance is taking them just to Hayward Hospital, it's out of network, and their insurance doesn't pay. And that's something that we need to be concerned about.
Right.
You know, it's something, you know, it's a concern.
It is, but at the same time, the only way that we were able to bring on people, a lot of the employers are not wild about a 3 or 4 hour loss of an employee. So I think things are going to improve over time, but it will take some time. So, all right, how about the volunteer roster for workers' compensation? Do we have any updates needed?
Do you think we need to add Beth Nahaba then to our list?
Are all of the MTs on there? I think you will need to, but I think it's premature right now, but I think we will need to.
Okay.
I hope we will need to, I'll put it
Okay.
that way. So, I don't see any changes. Do we need an executive session?
I don't think so.
Pretty quiet. Well then, there's only one other thing to do, and that's number 24. But I need a motion.
I will move to adjourn.
Second.
That was Marcus. Okay, we've got a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? Melissa, how do you vote? Linda?
Aye.
Marcus?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Vickie?
Aye.
Darla?
Aye.
All yes. Mad to not.
Fine.
And I'm gonna call it 7:55 PM.
I have this floor plan for the community center to go and look at it.
Thanks, Melissa and Marcus. Somebody already hung up, but,
Somebody did, you
yeah.
know.
Thank you.
Change to it from the last one.
I haven't had one. Here you go. Thank you.
Sure. I guess it's up to you guys whether, if you want to print it right now, I'll sign it.
Find all those application letters to swing for when you move.
This is nice and quick.
I wanted to know I put
Well,
those there.
it's quicker.